Welcome, everyone, to The Deep Dive. Today, we're really plunging into a story of, profound transformation, one that's born directly from the fires of crisis. It's a journey that I think reveals how immense adversity, far from breaking us, can actually forge something incredibly resilient, something really strong. Our deep dive today is into a concept we're calling the Crucible, the ripple effect. We're going to explore this pivotal moment where a major crisis puts absolutely everything at risk. It intensely tests a core partnership and really the very fabric of the community. And our insights for this, they come from some powerful excerpts from a really compelling source, The Crucible of Resilience, Growth from Crisis. So our mission today really is to uncover these powerful insights on courage, collaboration, and the far-reaching impact of resilience, all seen through the lens of two central figures, Nyla and Brody. As we navigate their story, I want you to maybe consider, what does it truly mean to turn adversity into opportunity? What does that actually look like, especially in the toughest moments?
And that's exactly why looking at these kinds of stories, these narratives of crisis and recovery, is so incredibly valuable. It helps us understand human resilience, community resilience. What's really fascinating here is how these intense stories, they often reveal these universal truths about strength, not just for the individuals, Nyla and Brody, but for the collective. They show us how challenges, if you approach them with a certain mindset, can become these powerful catalysts for real enduring change.
Okay, so let's really get into this then. The source material, it starts by describing this core challenge, like a huge crisis that threatens to unravel Nyla and Brody's partnership, and, crucially, their community's whole sense of stability, their resilience. We're talking incredibly high stakes here. Everything they've painstakingly built, every belief they hold, it's all on the line. It's a kind of situation that doesn't just demand a response, does it? It demands this extraordinary, almost existential reevaluation.
Indeed. And the source uses a really powerful metaphor for this. It calls the crisis a crucible. Think of a crucible like a special pot used to melt metals at super high temperatures. The point isn't to destroy them, but to purify them, to burn away the impurities, the dross, and leave behind just the essential strength and core. So in this story, the crisis, it serves to intensely shape and refine not just Nyla and Brody's relationship, but, as the source really emphasizes, the very fabric of the community around them. It's this period of intense pressure, right? Forcing a profound, often uncomfortable transformation. Weaknesses get exposed, sure, but also the true inherent strengths are revealed. They get reinforced.
Right. And what was their first move? Nyla and Brody's, I mean. When they're faced with this overwhelming pressure, the source tells us they were compelled to dig deep to unearth new reserves of courage. So this wasn't about finding, an immediate quick fix or some technical solution. No, it sounds like a profound internal shift, a moment where they had to access something really fundamental within themselves just to start facing the enormity of it all. The source paints it as this almost primal urge, a refusal to be broken. It forced them to reevaluate what truly mattered, where their deepest convictions really lay. It's much more than just problem solving, isn't it?
Exactly. It's an inner reevaluation of purpose. And that internal shift, that digging deep, it leads us to a key insight from the source material about courage in crisis. The material makes it very clear. This isn't about individual bravery or, lone heroes riding in. Quite the opposite. It emphatically states that true strength emerges from vulnerability and collaboration.
That's such a powerful point. Vulnerability and collaboration.
It really is, and one we often overlook, I think. Consider this. In the face of these huge challenges, Nyla and Brody don't just retreat into themselves. Instead, the source explicitly recounts how, together, they confront the obstacles head-on, drawing on the support of their community. The text describes a scene where, initially the fear of failure, maybe appearing weak, it could have just paralyzed them. But it was their willingness to admit that fear, to actually say, we're not sure how to do this, to each other and to their community, that paradoxically unlocked this new level of collective resolve.
Wow.
Their partnership and the wider community, they weren't just sitting on the sidelines. They became absolutely crucial, essential components of their ability to endure and overcome. It's that collective strength, that willingness to be vulnerable, to lean on each other. That's what truly made the difference when, individual efforts probably would have just crumbled.
Okay, so here's where that internal courage really starts to translate into, tangible action, right? Nyla and Brody move from just confronting the crisis to taking concrete steps. The source calls it policy development. So they didn't just react to the disaster as it unfolded. They actively began to craft new policies, not just abstract rules, but practical frameworks aimed right at the crisis's root causes, trying to mitigate the immediate impact. And the source details how these policies weren't simply top-down orders. They involved painstaking consultation, often in informal community gatherings, apparently, just to make sure they truly met the community's most pressing needs. Like maybe they developed emergency resource allocation policy.
Community safety protocols, perhaps?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe initiatives for rapid reskilling for people hit economically.
Yeah.
This phase was all about taking that shared vision, the one forged in the Crucible, and giving it real, actionable form.
And what's truly fascinating and encouraging, I think, is the immediate payoff that the source describes. Nyla and Brody witnessed the immediate ripple effects of their efforts. This wasn't some, distant, abstract future thing, or a theoretical outcome. No, the text illustrates how these changes were right there. Tangible, visible within days or weeks sometimes. Imagine the initial skepticism, maybe even despair, in the community.
Right.
Then, the source paints this picture of small but significant shifts starting to happen. Maybe food supply lines stabilizing, like you mentioned, or perhaps local crime rates starting to dip, or even just people feeling a bit safer walking down their own streets. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it just profoundly shows how intention, when it's coupled with strategic action and genuine community buy-in, it translates directly into immediate, tangible change. They didn't just wish for a better outcome, they literally started building it.
And the community felt it.
Exactly, the community experienced it. And that immediate validation, those first small successes, they provided crucial momentum and hope in what was likely a pretty desperate time.
And that positive outcome, it started to fundamentally shift the whole community dynamic. The source highlights that the positive changes they implement begin to inspire hope and action among community members.
Yeah.
This is where that individual and collaborative effort really starts to radiate outward, way beyond just Nyla and Brody. It's like throwing a pebble into a still pond, isn't it? But a pond that was maybe filled with despair.
That's a good analogy.
Those first small ripples of policy and action, they start expanding. They inspire others who maybe felt helpless or disempowered to step up. The source might describe, new volunteer groups suddenly forming, or neighbors who hadn't spoken in years, now collaborating on community projects.
It's a powerful chain reaction. Agency gets restored, the collective spirit kind of reawakens.
This radiating impact, this growing momentum, it leads us straight into the next phase of their journey, celebrating success stories. The source material really puts an emphasis on success stories emerging from their grassroots movements. Now just try and picture these inspiring changes. The text brings specific scenarios to life, like imagine families who were once really on the brink, now finding stable housing. Maybe thanks to a new housing assistance policy Nyla and Brody helped spearhead.
Right.
Or think about individuals who lost their livelihoods, now taking part in community-led skill-sharing workshops that equip them for new opportunities. These aren't just abstract ideas in the text, they're shown as real, impactful transformations in people's everyday lives.
And the source gives us these truly concrete examples through what it calls local heroes. It tells us how community members share how the initiatives have empowered them to make meaningful changes in their lives. So this isn't just about Nyla and Brody doing things for people. It's about their work empowering individuals to take control, to improve their own circumstances.
That's a key distinction.
Absolutely. The text might describe someone, maybe previously isolated, joining a community gardening project and rediscovering a sense of purpose. Or perhaps a small business owner, on the verge of collapse, finding new avenues for support, new collaborations through maybe a community economic development council that was set up. It strongly reinforces the idea from the source that collective action can lead to significant progress. These aren't just isolated wins, they're powerful demonstrations of how, when people come together, using the frameworks Nyla and Brody helped establish, truly impactful, positive change can happen organically, from the ground up.
And the scope of this transformation, it just kept broadening, didn't it? The source points out the far-reaching impact. It explains that the ripple effects extend beyond their community. This is where you see the truly exponential power of their work. It's the ultimate testament, really, to the effectiveness of grassroots resilience. It showcases how grassroots movements can inspire similar initiatives in other regions. So what started as a local response to a specific acute crisis, it began to become a blueprint, a source of practical inspiration, tested knowledge for other communities facing their own challenges.
Their success wasn't just a local fluke then.
Exactly. The narrative suggests it wasn't just a local anomaly, but a reproducible model. It demonstrates that local action can truly have this regional, maybe even wider echo. setting off waves of change far beyond where they started.
And it's so crucial to remember, as the source wisely points out, the crucial importance of celebrating small victories as integral steps in a broader, ongoing journey.
Ah, yes. The small wins.
Right. This isn't just about having a big party at the end when everything is fixed. It's about recognizing that progress isn't usually one single monolithic win. It's almost always a continuous accumulation of many small, often really hard-won successes. Each small victory, a new policy implemented smoothly, a single family finding stability, a new community group forming it, builds confidence. It sustains the effort, and it serves as a vital stepping stone towards those larger, more ambitious goals.
It makes the whole thing feel more achievable, maybe.
Precisely. It reinforces the idea that the journey itself, with all its incremental improvements, is just as important as the ultimate destination. Without celebrating those micro-victories, that marathon of resilience can feel absolutely insurmountable.
Okay, so bringing this all together, what does this really mean for us, for you listening? Beyond the compelling story of Nyla and Brody, this brings us to that overarching theme that ties everything together: the art of resilience, learning from setbacks and embracing new beginnings. This isn't just a fascinating story, it's really a framework, isn't it? A kind of practical guide for how we can all navigate the inevitable challenges in our own lives, whether they're personal setbacks or, broader community crises.
Exactly. The source meticulously breaks down this concept of resilience. It defines it particularly in the context of recovering from challenges. And then it highlights two absolutely essential components, like pillars supporting the whole thing. First, there's the ability to learn from setbacks. This is about more than just, gritting your teeth and surviving. It's about actively extracting valuable lessons from difficult experiences, understanding why something didn't work.
Adapting.
So actively growing from the pain, right? Not just enduring it, but growing from it. And second, it's the capacity to embrace new beginnings after adversity. This means not getting stuck in the past, not constantly dwelling on what was lost, but actively looking forward, finding opportunities for renewal, for growth, even after significant hardship. It's about seeing the clean slate that adversity often provides, even if it's painful.
And the source gives us such a powerful affirmation, one that really resonates deeply with this whole story we've been discussing. It says, in every setback, I find the seeds of resilience. Each challenge is an opportunity to grow, learn, and embrace new beginnings. It's an incredibly hopeful message, I think. It suggests that even in our toughest moments, even when we feel completely broken, the potential for strength and renewal is always there, lying dormant like seeds just waiting for the right conditions to sprout. It's a profound reminder that difficulty is often not just a prerequisite for growth, but the very catalyst, the thing that sparks profound change.
And that affirmation, it truly encapsulates the entire journey of Nyla and Brody, doesn't it? It beautifully ties their specific narrative right back to that core theme of resilience. It shows how they embodied these very principles through their actions, their vulnerability, their unwavering collaboration. Their story isn't just a tale, it's a living illustration of this philosophy in action, which naturally raises an important question for all of us listening here today. How do we cultivate this mindset ourselves? How do we actively look for those seeds of resilience in our own setbacks? And how do we intentionally embrace those new beginnings when adversity inevitably strikes us?
Yeah.
It's a shifting perspective, really, but one that can profoundly alter our experience of any challenge we face.
So as we've navigated this deep dive into Nyla and Brody's journey, we are, I think, powerfully reminded that resilience isn't merely about enduring hardship. It's not just bouncing back to where you were. It's about transforming challenges into these profound opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for deeper connection, and for lasting positive change. It's an active, dynamic process. Learning, adapting, rebuilding, often, as we saw, with the indispensable support of those around us. So as you reflect on this deep dive and as you go about your own journey, we want to leave you with a few provocative questions from the source. For your own reflection, first, maybe take a moment later today. Reflect on a significant setback you faced in your own life. What specific lessons did you learn from that experience? And how did that crucible moment, that period of intense pressure, how did it specifically shape your resilience moving forward? Second, think about how you can consciously celebrate the small victories in your own life. What seemingly small wins may be easily overlooked in the grand scheme? What small wins can you acknowledge and genuinely celebrate? How can they serve as crucial motivation on your journey, propelling you forward even when the path feels long or uncertain? And finally, in what tangible ways can you contribute to grassroots movements? Or maybe just foster collective action right there in your own community? How might your actions, no matter how small or localized they seem, create your own ripple effects and maybe inspire others to join the cause of positive change?
These stories of resilience, like the one about Nyla and Brody, they offer us more than just inspiration, don't they? They offer a powerful, practical blueprint, really, for navigating our own challenges, whether they're personal challenges or collective ones. They remind us of the enduring power of hope, the power of unity, and that every difficult experience, every single setback, holds within it the profound potential for transformation. Carry these insights forward into your own life. Recognize and nurture your own incredible capacity for growth, even, and perhaps especially, in the toughest moments.
We really hope this deep dive has sparked some new thoughts for you, maybe offered some new perspectives, and given you some valuable tools for your own journey of discovery. Until next time, keep digging deep.